Hi, everybody. This is day 1334. No proof of life. No proof of life at all. Um, let's see. Let's go on. That just shook me up a little bit. So, every day, 1334 days. And, it's more than that. Okay, there I am. All right, thank you so much. All right, let's get started. So there's so much to remember in all of this, and we were reminded of that today of our CAOs. Those are the Casualty Assistant Officers. We are on the fourth one. The first one, um, the first CAO that we had was caught being up to no good, was being caught on a site that was betraying us, that was smearing Richard, smearing us, smearing the family, up to no good. And we found out that he was TRADOC. And TRADOC, if you don't know, does like alternative military actions. So it can be PSYOPs. PSYOPs is definitely psychological operations. And, from the beginning of time, the devil, the snake, Satan, uh, did a PSYOP. Did God say, in the Garden of Eden that if you eat from that tree, um, that you would die, right? Did God say that? Oh, come on, come on. That was a PSYOP. Um, and so, to catch our casualty assistant officers participating in PSYOP operations, psychological operations against us, um, you know, it was not like, oh, well, no, oh, he couldn't do that. Man wouldn't do that. Our military wouldn't do that. The reaction was, wow, they're doing it against a family of a missing soldier. That's what the reaction was. Wow. What was Richard reporting? What did he see? What did he know? Because our casualty assistant officer is conducting a psychological operation against us, against Richard. Wow. And that uh, participated, no, precipitated, yeah, all through, like when we would have some witnesses that helped us, when we would have Team 5 Richard Halliday members really finding out information, asking really good questions, then the bullying would start, and we would get calls that they were getting bullied and told different lies behind the scenes to stop them from helping us, stop them, just making their lives miserable so they couldn't even help, because when you're just trying to help, you're not asking for your life to be turned upside down. You're just wanting to help, lend a hand. And this is what these psychological operations do. And they have teams of them, absolute teams of them. We did not even know it. And to be used against our family, to be used against Richard, to be used against Glendon Oakley Jr., who uh, was there on the Walmart mass shooting day in the mall area, where he saw uniformed individuals carrying M4s in the mall, and he called them mall cops because they were apparently dressed all in black, right? And that goes along with the other witnesses that said they saw other shooters all in black. And then, of course, our intelligence has given us information to say that brown tip bullets were at the scene. Were at the scene, and those are used with M4s. Um, and those are military grade weapons. And we're just praying that that didn't come from the arms room on Fort Bliss, because DES, that is the Director of Emergency Services, Thomas Kane, said that they were without contracts, really illegally, um, trying to to rebuild the arms room. There was something really bad about what happened in the arms room, what was going on in the arms room. And so we're just wondering, with all of these psychological operations, and I can just list so many more, but even coming from our casualty affairs officer, um, what did Richard see? What did he know? We know that he was a whistleblower. We know the IG were all over the barracks because of him. We know that he was reporting on the arms trafficking, on children being harmed, because he was reporting multiple times to the Child Protective Services, and he had sex videos that he turned in to prove what was going on. And we also know that the individuals that are up to no good during the Walmart mass shooting also targeted Richard's Richard's search and investigation, his case. We know that his file was tampered with. We know that CID gave unauthorized access and participated in this. We know that the um, body cam of the El Paso Police Department, thank you so much for releasing that to us. I know it's 3.5 years, almost 4 years later, but we're very appreciative for that body cam. Somebody in there, things are changing, people are changing, leadership is changing, and so somehow, somewhere, some way, we received that body cam footage, almost 2 hours of it, maybe a little more than 2 hours of it. And some of it is redacted, like, fuzzed out. But we have a very, it's almost 2 hours. And Richard is absolutely beautiful, respectful, absolutely. That was an unjust traffic stop in a parking lot by a canine cop. That's Ken to Belen Rocha, who we believe called the 911 call, or called him because we're still waiting for that information to come to us. And, I shouldn't even say that because, with all of this interference, with all of this manipulation, deleting of videos and everything, any way to stop from the truth from getting out. But I just don't think that they can stop the truth from getting out. It's already out there. We already have enough, and we've had enough for a long time to know what happened. And we're just waiting patiently while we're still, getting leads, and this, and turning it in, and just letting all of the evidence in three piles: irregularities, then circumstantial evidence, and hard evidence, right? And the video footage of Richard is really hard evidence of an unjust arrest, an unjust traffic stop. And he's just so respectful and compliant and absolutely not drunk. Not. No way. He's so sober and he passes all the tests and he's just beautiful. And just, and that was used as a basis for Major General Clem Coward to issue a permanent GOMAR to Richard to destroy him for a chaptering to start. The chaptering was 4 months long, and during that time, they used that night as a basis for a field grade Article 15. Richard had no counseling slips except for this day, and all this talk with breathalyzer and everything. It is just one big soup sandwich. They could not get anything right because he was so sober and they didn't know what they were going to do. Were they going to try to get him for just underage drinking, right? Or were they going to try to get him for being drunk? And they couldn't decide what they were going to do because everything was a lie, everything was a psyop, and so it's just a soup sandwich. It's just totally unjust. And so in the counseling slip, they were trying to say that uh, it was for underage drinking, 0.04, 0.04, which is like, uh, let me wash my mouth out with some uh, mouthwash, and that's it. Uh, and then it's even in that error for the calibration, right? That range of error for the calibration. So it's, to use something like that to destroy a soldier, to take away 3 ranks, give him 45 days of extra duty, wearing full battle gear, wearing a mask, take away 50% of his pay for 2 months. And that 45 days gave him 4 hours of sleep. So every day he could only have 4 hours that he was left alone to get sleep. And, it's for what? For him being unjustly stopped in a parking lot for a traffic stop by a canine cop. That was Ken, that is Ken, to Belen Rocha. Um, it's just for a 2-star general to do that to a stellar soldier, and Richard was a stellar soldier. He was distinguished honor graduate for his cycle and basic training in AIT. And, here he is, 19 years old. And for a major general, a seasoned commander, to do that to a soldier, to one of his soldiers, and for a lieutenant colonel that has, and they both have conflicts of interest. They both are involved in things that are up to no good. Okay? They are up to no good. This Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick and Major General Clem Coward and General Michael Xavier Garrett. They're up to no good. Absolutely. They have conflicts of interest. They just invested their treasures and time and talents with the wrong people, with the wrong, just, it's really bad. Very, very bad. And so that is also, evidence um, when you see a 2-star general uh, just coming out with everything that he possibly can against a stellar soldier, uh, that reveals a lot. And this video absolutely reveals that from the body cam of the police, the El Paso Police Department. And also, that is indication of the foul play, the abuse of power by not only those commanders, but also Sean Bernabe and his SJA, and um, David Stewart, Brigadier. Well, I think he's got a second star now, Major General um, David Stewart. Foul play against a soldier, and um, Richard just beautiful in it, and yet and was exonerated on the 9th of July of 2020. I bet you they didn't tell David Stewart that. And David Stewart, you're going to have to sleep with this. Um, I don't think he is going to. I think he's going to be haunted by this. Uh, Absolutely, totally haunted by this. Um, and I hope he is. I really do, because it is just the most evilest thing to align yourself with uh, the destruction of a stellar soldier. Yeah, yeah, and the family, and the family also, because remember, our rights were also violated, and um, so because and why was he exonerated? Because they saw this video, and you know who exonerated Richard? It was Alma Trejo, who's running for district attorney. So I think things are just changing, and she had the guts. Alma Trejo had the guts to, and also the smarts to know not to retaliate against a U.S. Army active soldier that was framed, unjustly framed. And of course, why was he framed then? Because he's a whistleblower, because of the criminal activity that was going on Fort Bliss. And um, the other, and to go back to the CAOs, so our first CAO, um, uh, Josh Lyons, who was doing the psyops, can't even trust your CAO, really bad. And then our second CAO, he committed suicide. And that's really a sad story. We met with him here in South Carolina, and they took their time to tell us. Then we had a third CAO. Um, who knows what his name was? I do know the second one, but I'm not going to say it. Um, but because he didn't do it. I don't even know. Yeah, it's just talking to him one time and then whatever. Um, I think he was smart enough to say, or they just told him, don't even go near this. Don't even go near this. And then now we have a fourth PAO. And yeah, it is, it's really sad, the information that has come out of all of this that exposes that our military is really up to no good because of the leadership. Um, and that leadership, those stars and those stripes are put into place. Well, the stars are for sure by the Senate Arms Committee and the House Arms Committee. And, you know, they're the ones that vote for it. And who did they put in those positions? It was a very, very bad decision. These are 44 four-star generals and admirals that are serving foreign and domestic enemies and not defending our Constitution. That has been very, very clear. Okay, so that's the military part of this. And that's just a really, really, really thin line of of this whole case. It's just so much deeper and wider and has many more facets because we didn't even mention Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado, who's the son-in-law of Nadal Baim, the FBI agent that uh, told us that Richard was found, uh, his remains were found in Mexico. And that's been corroborated even by uh, DHS, even by the department, the director of emergency services, even by Sean Bernabe, by his PAO, um, by another witness that witnessed to the FBI. Um, so this is, you know, and there's just so much more. So so what about the civilian and the media? Because people are telling me I haven't heard of this, and what are the updates? And you know, no, we've become the media, right? We've become the media. We've become the investigators. We've become, um, the legal strategists. It's just uh, we've had to fill in because our agencies and institutions, organizations, um, they need to give us our money back as far as taxpayers' money. Because what are they good for? What are they good for? Um, even the representatives, what are they good for? They're not representing us, and they're not oversight of the military. Why aren't they doing that? That's their job. And of course, the media should be covering this because it's so big. Because Richard's case is connected to the Walmart mass shooting case, which is connected to cartel, absolutely cartel activity, which is connected to election interference, absolutely election interference. They were saying Russia, Russia, Russia. Well, the election interference, we caught them. Bob Moore of El Paso Matters with Justin Underwood, with Bill Hicks, you know, the illegal district attorney right now for El Paso. He's illegal. Um, and that's another facet of this whole thing. But they colluded together to illegally interfere in the election of over 230,000 votes there in El Paso to unseat Yvonne Rosales. And, you know, uh, they did a lot of little clever things um, to unseat her with this like petition to whom it may be concerned that was totally illegal. How did we find out? Well, through open records requests, because we have become the investigators for our son's case. And, we want to know what was the DA, the district attorney's job is to identify crime, uh, document crime, and prosecute crime, right? They need to prosecute the crime. And where are they? What are they doing? And so we absolutely, um, have been asking for open records, and a lot of these open records, they don't want to give us these open records, right? They don't want to because we actually read through them and we find, uh, you know, things that are just not right at all. And one of these things is they're colluding together. These three, Justin Underwood, who is the attorney for Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, okay, um, who also targeted Richard's case, who, her name is going to come up a lot. I can just tell you that right now because she's absolutely up to no good. And they want, they're making her look like she's a victim. But I can tell you from our point of view, she is totally up to no good and, up to her eyeballs deep in this criminal activity. And So, and we're finding this all out by open records. And, that was our number one intention, is to find our son, to get our son, to rectify the uh, the attacks, the unjust violations of our rights, and point them out, so that others don't have to go through this, right? To, at least, do some good while we are looking for our son. And so that is our objective. And what we're finding is that El Paso Matters, who used Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, who used Leilani Hart, who had unauthorized access with the CID because she was, you know, uh, in an adulterous sexual activity with the CID, um, using that to have this access to meddle with our son's file and with the videos. And she is the mother of Richard's platoon leader. Okay, she's the mother of Richard's platoon leader. So, and Bob Moore of El Paso Matters used her to target our son's case, to target witness, to target key whistleblowers, key yes, a key whistleblower, and to interfere in the search and investigation of our son's case. And we have reached out uh, no less than 10 times, probably a dozen times, but no less than 10 times, even with his lawyers, to get him to correct what he did, the interference, what he did using Leilani Hart. And there's no answer. And so, the investigation goes on. And what did we find? That Leilani Hart is a convicted criminal. That she's a convicted criminal, that she was in possession of child pornography, that she didn't even report the child sexual assault in her master bedroom by multiple members of her household, that she was arrested for violating a restraining order, that she has a history of harassment, she has a history of assault. She's a convicted criminal, and also that she has some mental health uh, questionable problems, because the judge ordered her to have mental health evaluation. And of course, so many people have told us how crazy she was, and in the reports that she's crazy, and her victims say she's crazy. So, this is who Bob Moore aligns himself with. And then it gets, and he doesn't even answer. He doesn't even answer us, right? And so then he has to align with people that don't even use their real names, that are part of this psychological operations against us, that has stolen our cause, that have stolen our son's name, and that even has issued death threats and harassment, continuous severe harassment, and false narratives on what's going on. Then he aligns himself with them and gives them time, and yet doesn't answer our requests for correction. It is just stunning. And so then, of course, the investigation goes on with him. Who is he, this Bob Moore? Um, and we see that he has a privileged tax-free status, and of course, then we notify the IRS of his very political hits on all of this, and his unethical standards. Uh, and because with the privileged tax-free um, status, he has uh, he has a certain ethical standard that he has to uphold. to maintain that status. And so with that, we found out that, he doesn't really own El Paso Matters, that El Paso Matters is associated with El Paso Community Foundation. And that is a another can of worms, the El Paso Community Foundation. And so there, we had to notify them that, you know, the reports that we reported are on them, because his actions reflect their community foundation, which has, not only a 501c3 but a 509 A3, which is a charitable contributions distribution. And yeah, wow, uh, because that, then connects to, of course, the Walmart mass shooting case and the victims, the Walmart mass shooting. So this is all kind of connecting all together. And you know, and they're going after it. What made him come out was that honestly, we reported honestly that we received El Paso Police Department body cam footage of Richard on the 25th, 26th also of January, because it was a midnight's unjust traffic stop in a parking lot by a canine cop. Um, it, I can't make that up. And he was just so absolutely wonderful in it. And Bob Moore doesn't like that we got that video, and had to go out and try to manipulate the narrative. Wouldn't even give us a chance to, let everyone know, and makes it very difficult to release publicly the video, because they are so brutal. Um, but I think we're going to do it anyway, because Richard is so beautiful in it, and clearly has it all together. Is a stellar soldier, is absolutely a stellar soldier. But that is what made Bob Moore align himself with those that issued death threats on a family, on Richard, on a dead, and they even uh, say that they want to have sexual acts with Richard. Um, this is, the, yeah, videotape it and send, the, because they're into child porn. They're into all kinds of criminal activities, defending all kinds of criminal activities. And, Dallas Hart is one of them. Dallas Hart is one of them over there. Um, so, if he's not Richard's platoon leader, what is he doing aligning himself with this group of people that are, conducting a psychological operation, stealing Richard's um, uh, identity and the family's mission, um, you know, uh, uh, putting out death threats, and just being the worst type of people. What is he doing over there, right? Aligning himself with the likes of Bob Moore, with Leilani Hart, his mother, who's a convicted criminal, and others. You know, um, it's just very, very telling. And so, all of that has been collected, is being collected, and we'll see where all that brings us. But the video is very deadly as far legally. It really implicates so many um, in this case, and so that's why we're being very, very careful with it, because we've released it to to those that need to have it, right? Um, and yeah, oh, wow. What we have to go through for a young soldier, our son, to get answers. It is just absolutely mind boggling. And so we really, really thank you for those that are here. We are burning the midnight oil, that are watching, that are paying attention, that are sharing. Please share all of these videos. Please share the TikToks. Um, that is the traction that we need. Of course, share it with media. Share this with the media that Bob Moore of El Paso Community Foundation, okay? Bob Moore of El Paso Community Foundation, okay? That is their association. And it is just, it's, that will really shake up El Paso, because if they're up to no good, you're talking about a lot of donation money. You're talking about a lot of oh, a lot of control over what's happening in El Paso, and not in a good way. Really criminal activity. And it's kind of like this, oh, please, please don't let the weapons be from the arms room, right? The M4s. And, we have this uh, lead. We have evidence of the weapons being tampered with. Um, how can I say this in the right way? Our intelligence is telling us that Fort Bliss weapons were being tampered with a gunsmith. A gunsmith was tampering with the weapons. And what do I mean by that? Well, what a gunsmith can do to the weapons is they can get rid of the serial numbers. They can make them ghost weapons. They can make them untraceable, so that they could be trafficked, and that they will not come back, be traced back to Fort Bliss. So, you know, it is just, is that what Richard saw? Is that what he was reporting on? Whatever he saw, whatever he was reporting on, and it was lots of things. Of course, it was lots of things. Um, yeah, they, who, whatever it was, the Major General Clem Coward was involved in it. Okay, somehow, some form, some way. Because what this video shows is that they had no grounds to do what they did to Richard. So it had to be a different motive. And that motive could only have been because he was part of the criminal activity that was on Fort Bliss. And the same thing with Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick. He had no grounds to do what he did to Richard. And except for some other motive. And that other motive was because he was also involved with the criminal activity on Fort Bliss. And so absolutely, do their bank accounts need to be subpoenaed? I believe so. Do they need to be recalled? Absolutely. Do they need to be court-martialed? Absolutely. Absolutely arrested. And along with, and I will say this, there were no grounds for what Major General Clem Coward and Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick did to Richard. And then there was Vanessa. Then there was um, the other soldiers that were, everything was going crazy at that time in 2020. And General, 4-star General Garrett couldn't give a flip. And he absolutely had a duty to look at Richard's case. So I think he did look at Richard's case. I think he did have to cover up his rear end, especially after finding Vanessa in Fort Hood in the Killeen area, right there on the Leon River. Absolutely. And he knew Richard was retaliated against. Clearly, one look at the video, with all the knowledge of what's going on Fort Bliss, on what's going on in El Paso, this implicates absolutely General Garrett. And I would say even more, of course, Donna Martin, 3-star general, of course, so many others. But I want to really, that is the chain of command would be Clem Coward to Michael Garrett. And absolutely, it was so bad. And I would say Patrick Matlock, too. Absolutely Patrick Matlock, who is still active duty right now, absolutely needs to be court-martialed on this for what happened on Fort Bliss, because of he was in charge and they left the base unsecured. The base is so unsecured, and these are our most valuable assets, our weapons, our equipment, and he is leaving them unsecured. And so that is really a very, very important point. And these videos, this body cam video with Alma Trejo and her ruling absolutely show a different motive for what happened to Richard, because he was absolutely a stellar soldier, beautiful soldier in this video. Absolutely. Not in disorder at all. Absolutely respectful. Absolutely cooperating. Beautiful. He was so beautiful. And I'm so grateful for that. So grateful, because it really leaves no doubt. There is no doubt that there was a different motive for the permanent GOMAR, for the chaptering, for the field grade Article 15 with maximum punishment, and then some on top of it, and then the lack of support from the rest of the chain of command and our law enforcement, the law enforcement community being misled, giving false information, and Donna Martin not participating in that. Yeah, it is very, very clear there was a different motive, and so we know that motive is that Richard was a whistleblower. And in those 800 pages, they try to leave out everything to do with whistleblower. They don't want to put the PI in there that met with Marlon. Oh, Marlon. Oh, Phil. Oh, Marlon. Oh, Phil. Oh, Marlon. Because they met with each other many times. And yet, they leave that out in the CID report. that they met several times? Yeah. And absolutely, Belen Rocha, uh, absolutely, her testimony shows, and our screenshots from Belen Rocha shows that Richard was a whistleblower, that he reported multiple times to the CPS, that he had those sex videos, that he turned those in. And that is what the PI, Phil Waters, oh man, yeah, that's that's a story. Um, they leave that out. They just want to leave out every fact that Richard was a whistleblower, and that his remains were found in Mexico, and that it's corroborated by the Department of State, by the DHS, Homeland Security, by the PAO for Sean Bernabe, by Sean Bernabe, by the CID, um, by the DES, Thomas Kane, that Richard's um, remains were found in Mexico. I think that that is by the FBI, by the FBI, um, and you know, Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado and his conflicts of interest, Jesus Eddie Nieto Jr. and his conflicts of interest, Marlon Soto, Dirty Agent Marlon Soto Hernandez and his conflicts of interest, Intelligence, Fort Bliss Intelligence, Cynthia Hernandez Nieto and her conflicts of interest, and it just goes on and on. It just goes on and on, um, and and then it leads to El Paso Community Foundation, which is huge, and we're trying to wrap our brains around that one because knowing what we know, it's so big. It's so big because it's a direct connection then again to the Walmart mass shooting, just like Purchase Funeral Homes with DA Bill Hicks, with 3905 Bliss Avenue, with Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, with Mario Raskin Ortiz, the chief medical examiner, with Danae Katzen, and it just goes on, all the connections. So, I think the most heartbreaking for us is the Army. Because, yeah, Richard is active Fort Bliss soldier. Okay. Um, and they don't want to make that right. They don't want to have a 6 because it implicates them. So, thank you everyone for coming on, and please share. And we will be back tomorrow, God willing, and go on to, we're on many different platforms because we are being shadow banned. Yeah, that's another way of finding out that there is a control of the narrative on this, because no way would a honest media stay away from this story. No way. It's just so big because we only give you a little bit, but you should see what's happening behind the scenes. It's huge. So thank you so much. God bless you, and we'll be back